welcome to the Nicki Sun Show. I'm your host, Nicki Sun, and I am genuinely so excited because this next guest is not only an amazing creator, but she is also a personal friend. Just getting right into it, please welcome Kelsey Brannan, aka Premier Gal. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you. It's so great to be here in LA face to face with you. It's been so
know.
long.
I can't believe you're here like in the flesh because as we all know, you've moved to
Warsaw, Poland. I've been in Europe for the past 4 years.
You're there now, but you were born in San Francisco, or you were
Yeah,
there in
like
San
I'm
Francisco?
originally
Okay.
from Northern California and my partner's Polish. So we've kind of lived all over the States a little bit. I was in DC for some time when I was working as a shredder for my full-time job.
Break it down for those who don't know what shredder is.
It's a shooter, editor, producer.
Okay.
And it's kind of this new role that emerged with the changing technology where people just stopped having specific roles and you kind of had to know how to do all of these different roles. So we just kind of put all three words together and it's a fun word. Like you're shredding life, you're shredding the job.
It reminds me of Ninja Turtles. It's
Right.
shredder. I've heard of predator, but that doesn't sound
That
as
does not sound good.
It doesn't
Let's cancel
sound good.
that
Let's
right
cancel
now.
that because that's producer editor, but I like shredder a lot more. But I mean, for those of you who don't know, like Kelsey, you have single-handedly created, first of all, the coolest logo. The moment you look at your logo, Gal, which is in the shape of the Premiere Pro logo, I immediately know what your channel's about. So
Totally.
you've been creating so many videos, helping the world, helping creators learn how to edit, especially on Adobe Premiere Pro. So how did you get into that? There's been a lot in your journey.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've always loved video since I was younger. Like in book reports, like in fifth, sixth grade, I would always ask if I could do like a video version with like commercial breaks with an old, like, VHS camcorder. I just thought it was so fun recording moments and sharing them with people and telling funny stories and enjoying that process together. Like some of the best friendships I made was through the process of creating something creative with that other person. It's something so personal and fun. And then in high school, I went to a public high school in Northern California, and they had a media academy. And basically, you integrate technology and video editing with your English studies and your social studies, which is so cool. And I just, through that process, just loved it even more. And I was like, I want to go to college for video, pursued that. And I really enjoyed teaching in college. Like I was part of a digital editing lab where the teachers would come and I would do like lessons with the students, like how to edit. And that was kind of like a prequel to Premiere Gal. Like I didn't know that that was going to be something that actually I would use and have it become something of my own. And then after grad school, I got this job as the shredder, as we were talking about. And it was short form documentaries for the US Department of State because I went to Georgetown for my master's. So that was in DC. And it was for the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. And we called it ECA for short because it's kind of a mouthful.
Okay.
And basically, I got to interview exchange students who got these grants to like go abroad and do some projects. I got to interview people from all over the world. So I was like the person like coming up with the questions, setting the camera up, recording the audio, then putting it together. And that's why it was kind of the shredder role. You were kind of doing all parts and also, working with the social media team also. And then through that process, I just did some trainings at the US Department because it was kind of the evolution of iPhone media and creating iPhone videography, and everybody wanted to start creating it. So we did some trainings for US embassies who wanted to learn how to caption videos. And then kind of through that process, I was like, well, I've always kind of wanted my own thing. Like, I always wanted to create a YouTube channel, but I didn't want it to be like a personal vlogging channel. I wanted it to be related to what I love. And that's kind of where Premiere Gal was kind of born, where I was using the Premiere Pro, suite Adobe Creative Cloud at that time at the job. And at the time there was a Premiere Bro, and Premiere Bro was awesome. He was great. And I tweeted at him, I was like, hey, would you ever want a contribution from a Premiere Gal? I created the handle, created the YouTube channel. I wrote a blog for him. And then I was like, I think I'm going to start creating videos on my own channel. And the rest is herstory, I should say.
I love it.
And yeah, here we are, 7 years later, and it's my full-time thing. And I'm so grateful and blessed to do what I love every single day. The curiosity and exploration is just so fun. Yeah.
Wow. If you were to edit a highlight reel of your life,
Oh, wow.
what top three moments would be on that? And if you have more than three, go for it.
Oh my goodness. I think from high school, the moment when I produced the first slideshow, which was essentially vignettes of all of the different clubs and exciting moments from our senior year of high school, and to work with everybody in those different departments and then put together this video and then at the end of the year press play and then have see all the reactions and everybody enjoying this piece of work that I made. That was one of the first highlights. And then I think the second highlight was probably, gosh, there's so many cool moments in life. I'm always so bad at like whenever people make those end of the year recaps, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, like they spend so much time on that. Like it's so cool. Probably I studying abroad was really cool in Australia too, and getting to know a different culture and take some screenwriting lessons there. And just that was like an awakening of independence for me as a young woman. And another highlight I would say is probably when I got to interview and do a video with Michelle Kwan, the figure
Wow.
skater. She
Yes.
was working as a sports ambassador at the US Department of State, and we actually did yoga classes together, the hot yoga. And I was like, is that Michelle Kwan? And then I found out that she worked at the State Department, and we were supposed to have lunch together. And one time she left a note and she was like, I'm so sorry I missed you. And she signed it Michelle Kwan.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's so sweet.
Do
Um,
you still have that note to this day?
I think so, somewhere in a storage unit up in the north. I need to find it. But yeah, I should have framed it. Michelle
Yeah.
Kwan, I love you. And gosh, I think another highlight was just getting invited to Adobe Max to speak. I think it was in 2017. I ran some sessions there and it was like, totally like out of this world. Like, I can't believe people are coming and people like know the channel. And it was like very exciting. And then just other highlights are when people just little tiny things that people send me a message like saying thank you so much for your help or they have questions. I just really enjoy that camaraderie, I guess, of like helping a fellow person who is just having their own journey, creative journey. So, yeah, there's probably a few that I'll think of later on that I'll be like, oh man, like
And it's
I
okay. If
missed that
you think
highlight.
about it, we can totally
Yeah,
insert it because it's
yeah,
like just like an interview. I always feel like it is in my mind. I'm editing as we go too because
right,
it's like, oh, in order for me to tell a story or have you tell your story, like what's missing, what from the audience is missing that would enlighten more people. So I think from a creator standpoint, because I started this show because I really wanted the audience who happen to be a lot of creators or just people just fascinated about the creator economy or the world or just anybody who just creates every day. I imagine they would want to know how you got into it, how you sustain yourself, because at the same time, this is not an easy profession. That mindset of, I got to wake up every day and be consistent. What do you focus on when you first start out on the channel?
well, I think, well, talking about the consistency thing too, is like once you get into the groove of it and you find your flow, you don't need to wake up every day and do it. You
Hmm.
can plan accordingly and maybe only work 3 days a week.
Speak on
And
that. Yeah.
so like right now I've gotten to that point where I've outsourced some of my video editing work to contractors that we've brought on. So, and also training one of them to help me write the pieces too, because most of the work is in the research and the writing.
Yes.
And because I've gotten good at just jumping on camera, I can, pretty much film that video within an hour, hour and a half, and then pass it off to the editor, and then of course there's logistical stuff behind the scenes of running a business that I still do, like emails and stuff like that. But, by setting those boundaries, you can also flourish more during that time. You can get more creative and work hard in those short amount of time so you have more time for your personal life as well. But when I was first starting out, I was grinding too. I was working the full-time job because I wasn't making that much money on YouTube yet. So I needed to have some income. And, I would go to my 9 to 5 job, come home and, work until like 2 a.m. and then wake up the next day. And I didn't do that every night,
Hmm.
but, a few nights a week I was doing that. But the thing that kept me going was that I just loved learning new things and I loved that curiosity of like finding a solution for somebody or finding a new tool that I think is cool and then sharing that with other people. in, you know, a comprehensive way that like makes sense, because sometimes people will just like throw out all these technical terms. And, one of my pet peeves is like when something isn't explained well. So I'm like, okay, how can I make this as clear as possible so people don't have to waste more time, Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many videos were you watching yourself that weren't explained well that made you take it upon yourself to be, I'm going to be that channel that will?
Well, I think it was at this time when I started, which was 2016, that summer, when I launched the first video without a plan, just kind of threw it out there. And I think at the time there was like a lot of things that I was finding as the shredder that would come up and people would have questions on the team. And I would be like, oh, like there's no resources that go into depth or they missed this one step. And I can't really count how many videos per se that I watched,
Yeah.
but I knew that there was a need for that.
Yeah.
And I knew that, there was lynda.com and there was a lot of different resources online, but you needed a plan to see that. And sometimes there were very long courses, still great courses. I loved Lynda. I learned some great things on there, but it's very long. And I wanted, shorter to the point, free content.
Hmm.
And then it was like, okay, well, how can I continue to make this free? And that's kind of where sponsorships, brand deals, affiliate marketing, and that whole side of YouTube came in to help support the channel and grow without needing like a big investor,
Yeah.
basically.
So, as a creator, full-time creator,
Yeah.
I think this is where we get into the whole pay transparency because we cannot fund our channels alone on Google AdSense, or many creators can, some can.
Some can. Yeah.
But how do you start reaching out to sponsors?
Yeah, that part was very interesting because I started out just loving a tool and I was like, hey, if you give me a free license, you know, I'll do a review.
Hmm.
And then, it would help them get a lot of conversions that would lead to sales for them. And eventually, as the views started to go up, I did get more emails directly from companies being like, hey, we love what you do. Like, we'd love to, sponsor a video.
Hmm.
And there was really no standards at this time for a tech YouTuber
Yeah.
to have like a certain rate card.
Yeah.
And it's kind of evolved a little bit, but it's still kind of the Wild West. Like you
Hmm.
basically have to come up with the value of the brand awareness because in marketing, there may not be a conversion at first, but they'll remember later on that they saw this multiple
Yeah.
times, not even just from me, but from other creators.
Hmm.
So, you kind of have to work out your value before you come up with your rate.
Yeah.
But once you have your rates, it's great because you can have like a sheet that you can like send to people,
Hmm.
and it's a great starting point. And a lot of times, like we'll negotiate as well because
Yeah.
it really just depends on the brand. But yeah, so tech companies started reaching out to me, like software companies, plugins, and there's so many, and it was just so beautiful. And then there was some other people that I had worked with before, and I reached out and kind of explained, we had success here. Would you be interested in, doing a annual partnership with me, like maybe
Yeah.
one video per month, or, we'll start at 6 videos for the whole year or something. And usually the conversation was quite positive. They were like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Let me talk to the team. So there's no issue with asking questions or proposing. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? No,
Yep.
or maybe a little bit later. And, everyone that I've worked with has always been so great. Even if we decide to end a partnership, it'll usually come back around or something
Hmm.
because that's just the way business is.
Yeah.
It's a very small world in the video editing world. So it's pretty crazy how like I know some video people and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've sent you Premiere Gal's videos. Oh yeah, like it's just so cool that people have seen a video that has helped them that I produce, which is mind blowing.
And
Yeah.
I have to ask the big question, when did Adobe actually start sponsoring you? Because I imagine you started the channel without their support first.
Right. So Adobe isn't a main sponsor of the channel. They
Mm.
don't really do like main sponsorships, but they have sponsored a couple videos
Okay.
and they have what is the word for it? They've asked me to do some videos for their channels.
Okay.
So, and I've also created some like MOGRTs for them, motion graphics templates, which are basically template little title graphics that have animation already in them that people can just easily customize for their other new tool called Premiere Rush, which is more geared for social media TikTok creators. So I've made some Mogres for them. We've collaborated on a lot of different projects, but we haven't actually, they're not like, oh, we're sponsoring a video every month. But I'm
Gotcha.
also an Adobe affiliate. So,
Okay.
and if you guys don't know, or if you're watching this, what affiliate marketing is, it's basically when you're a creator and you recommend a product, you can put your link, your affiliate link in the description box, and you'll make a cut of that sale if somebody clicks on it. And, I normally say if you use my link, it helps support the channel. So thank you so much. And usually there's a discount code
Mm-hmm.
involved. So Adobe has that with me. And I work with a ton of other people like Envato. A recent one I started working with is Track Club by Marmoset. It's a new music licensing company. And yeah, I mean, the list is endless. I've worked with a ton of different companies. Really, it's been amazing.
It's really cool that you basically get to have a career where you get to test and
Yeah.
also share with other creators like this is what worked, this is what I could be improved. How did you start those relationships? Is it meeting companies or individuals at networking conventions, or is it cold emails? Like how do creators reach out firstly to companies that they want to work with?
I've actually worked with people where we never had a call, we've never had a Google Hangout, only email.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
that's
And
wild.
also, like, during the COVID times too, it actually blossomed because everything was remote and my
Hmm.
job was remote. So it was like everybody was looking to advertise more and more online. So it's interesting with that. And in terms of relationships, like you could really have so much just by posting on YouTube. People see that you're an expert in your field. They're reaching out, oh, like I'm have a music video project. Like, are you able to edit it? And stuff like that. I'm like, well, I don't really do client projects right now, but I can refer you to somebody else. And, it's just by having your video on YouTube, that's networking in itself. You almost don't need to go to events
Hmm.
anymore. But when I started out, I really did enjoy the face to face. And I did go to NAB Show a bunch, Adobe Max, got to learn a bunch of new stuff of what was happening in the now. So I did do that like multiple times a year in the first few years of starting Premiere Gal, but I haven't done it as much recently because there's been so much opportunities just through my email contact form on the website. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shout out to NAB Show, by the way, because
Yeah.
that's where I actually met you. I
Right. Yeah.
was back in 2018 when I was emceeing the post production stage. I was, well, be frank, I was introducing male speaker after male speaker after male speaker, and I was wondering where are all the women at? And um, there's one panel in that week called Gals and Gear.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amy. And I believe I saw you either on the Adobe panel or you were hanging out around there, or we met at the Gals and Gear cocktail mixer party.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know there's more. I know there's more of this. And so it was just so nice to just meet you and see your face and just been following your journey. So I just wanted to give a shout out to NAB Show. But at the same time, what has been your involvement in these shows? Because you're also an educator. So what do you normally get flown around to speak about?
Well, I did do like, this like quick, what do they call it? Lightning talks thing at NAB once where a bunch of trainers came up and gave like quick tips. And I loved
Hmm.
that because I just came up and only had to be in front of people for like 15 minutes. Because, believe it or not, when I'm in front of my camera in my studio, it's like actually not that stressful at all because it's just me there. But when you actually
Yeah.
stand up and like are in front of people, like I still get a public speaking scare too.
Yeah.
But I've done like some panels, and I haven't really done a whole lot of in person training
Hmm.
since I started YouTube. I've been doing like live stream workshops as of late. But when I was at Adobe Max, I did a few different sessions on like social media editing, and they were like huge rooms. I couldn't believe it. But the way I did it in my head was like, oh, if you imagine the number of views you had on the YouTube video, like you could fill up like a whole stadium, which
Yeah.
is also crazy to think about.
Oh,
Like all these people are watching. Wow.
yeah, let's speak on that number because I think in social media now, I don't. I feel like there's a lot of creators that when they put stuff out, if they don't get the amount of likes or views,
Mm.
they feel like ashamed and they'll take it down. But
Oh.
I feel like at the same time, it's about quality and it's about
Mm-hmm.
connecting and it's
Mm-hmm.
about putting out a product that you're proud of. So, what are your thoughts on the whole way that influencers have kind of entered this field where they may not have come from a creating background, but they're expecting to hit these numbers? And how do you deal with virality when you're working with clients who like make that video go viral?
Yeah, I mean, there is this pressure too when you're working with companies to make sure you're hitting those views, you're hitting those conversions. And they also understand that, YouTube is strange and the algorithm changes all the time.
Hmm.
But that video is evergreen for the most part because it's educational
Yeah.
and will live on and continue to impress upon people. Um, but yeah, I think what I look at is I talked to Hayden Hillier Smith and Jordan Orm. They created the editing podcast about this a little bit, where it's like each month you create one video, like kind of more for yourself, and that may not do that well on the channel, but you're putting it out there, and who knows, maybe it'll be a new trend, or maybe it doesn't do that well. That's okay. And then you kind of like play into the game a little bit where you find trending topics but you still add your own twist on it. So I'm always trying to find topics that are hot, that people are interested in, like, sound mixing with the built in tools for Premiere Pro versus AI automatic sound mixing. Like, what's the difference here? And usually I try to make videos that would answer the questions that I would want answered. Like, is it worth it? You
Hmm.
know, should I invest money in this tool? And I kind of pose these questions like, really, if you're making a ton of videos, maybe this AI tool will help you because it saves you time. But if you're a master at sound engineering, then maybe you don't, I
Hmm.
never try to force anything because we're all humans and I'm really just trying to, share what would be useful for the everyday experience as a creator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you talked about AI. So what are your thoughts about AI? I know it's entering the land of editing as well. Is it, or should people be more scared or excited?
Well, I think there's this. I think we need to embrace new technology as it
Hmm.
comes. I think it would be, you need to embrace it because you might get left behind and you might be using tools that can help you with your job as assistants, right? Because a lot of times, always coming back to the shredder, if you're doing all these things yourself, it can be very time consuming and taxing. And that leads to a lot of creators to burn out
Yeah.
and say, is it worth it? And so I was talking with the producer here of your studio, and it's like he started using Autopod for his podcast and multicam editing, and it just creates a rough cut for him, saves him a ton of time. And I think there was a session I went to an NAB show that Lairpole led, and the name of it was "How to Get Home in Time for Dinner" or something. And this was
Yeah.
going on. This has been going on for a long time, where
Mhm.
editing takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and any tool, whether it's AI or some sort of algorithm tool that helps speed it up, I would say, yeah, let's take it. But again, remember, all these tools do cost money. So
Yeah.
you have to think about the economics of it. Is it worth it for that time exchange? And so that's what I always tell people. I'm like, it's not all free. Like, not everybody's going to be able to utilize these. But if it does help you, then maybe it is worth it to invest in.
Yeah. Well, since you know so much about like the editing world, I want to give the audience a really, really special sneak peek into the type of software that you utilize that has helped your flow.
Well, I use a tool called Tascade, and it's not the most popular one because I know Notion is like the most popular tool. I even saw like an ad in the LAX airport for Notion. I was like, whoa, they got a good marketing budget here. But Tascade is great. It's free, and you can invite multiple users. I use it with my editor, so I basically the month before I kind of plan out roughly what I think I'm going to make videos on and I assign who's writing that script, whether it's me or one of my other writers, and then I assign the video editors and make sure that it works with everybody's schedule. And then it's just like this checklist. I can just check it off, like thumbnail done, video done, and it just really helps because when you have it all in your head, it can be a mess. Even if you are a very organized
Yeah.
person and together, like it's just good to get it out.
Hmm.
What else do I use? Google Docs for script writing.
Yeah.
Simple. and I think notepad on my iPhone. Whenever I have an idea, I just like take out the notepad. I'm like writing it down, and it kind of like a journal, of just like things and ideas that pop in. Cause, I had a friend come up to me and she's like, gosh, like, I want to be more creative. Like, can we have like a session together? I'm like, girl, like, I like get creative, like taking a shower. Like, I think of an idea like when I'm doing everyday things. Like, we should just hang out during the day and do normal things. And then
Yeah.
ideas come. Could be making breakfast and an idea pops up. That's when I have my notepad.
Yeah.
And I think that's what successful people do also is like, in terms of to-do lists, like not adding too much each day, just like having like 3 tasks that you're going to do that day. So it doesn't become overwhelming, or write out everything you want to do in that week and then assign it out in that week. But I'm not like, I have to wake up by a certain time or
Yeah.
any of that. And that's the good thing about the job that me and my partner run together is we can pretty much do it at any time of day, even if it means, working late at night sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that answers the tools that I use.
Yeah, it's wild because it wasn't like AI or all these like crazy
Oh
things. It was
yeah,
like something that everybody can pull out,
totally.
use their phone. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love that you also answered in that question was your creative process. Is like creativity can strike any time,
totally.
even in a
Yeah.
shower or eating breakfast. So
Yeah, totally. It's not like I have a brainstorm session.
yeah.
That's actually when I'm least productive
Mm,
because you're like forcing yourself to think, and that's terrible. Like, that's not how you should force creativity at all. It needs to be live in the moment. Like, it's just the better way. I would say that you might agree, right? You probably just take notes and think of ideas. Like, you're probably
yeah.
not like, maybe some people do like brainstorming sessions. Sorry if I offended you, but for me, it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say I'm the same in that way, but I'm glad to hear it from other creators and you especially that like, okay, what I've been doing is, and at the same time, everybody has their own process, right? I don't
Right.
judge everybody else's process, but it
Totally.
is nice to hear that, a fellow creator that I absolutely look up to is like, yeah, just write it on your Google Doc. I'm like, good, that's what I have. That's what has been working. Live docs, just sharing it with your team. Everybody's on there. And like speaking of teams, so we can limit creativity or creator burnout and actually be more productive and just do the things that we want to do in life. When did you decide that, hey, I think it'd be great if I had a team? Was it pretty early on? Because you started your channel in 2016. So when was the year that you decided, in order for me to grow, I need a team?
I think about 3 or 4 years in,
Okay.
because it was still manageable at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I had my partner the whole time
Yeah.
helping with like brands and like emails and all of that. So that was very helpful to have that since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that like, I think around the COVID years in 2020, it was like I was getting tired of having to stay up late editing. And I was like, I don't think this is sustainable. Let's like put feelers out for some editors that I can trust and grow with to know my vision. And I got a couple editors that I've worked with, but they've had to go on and do different jobs. Everything was great. It's just, had to move on to a new thing.
Yeah.
And now I have a few different editors who are all remote, all living in different countries. It's so global. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
And I forgot to mention another tool that we use is Slack.
Okay.
We
Slack.
also have Discord, but it's mainly for the Premier Gal community. I created a Discord for video editors to help each other out. But my team and I use Slack, and it's great because I have a social channel where we share things going on in our life together. We don't want it to be all work
All
and
work.
boring
Yeah.
stuff, boring stuff. So basically, we have a channel for each editor's edits, and we have like an editing room where we like say like, hey, by the way, I created this folder in Dropbox because we use Dropbox to share all of our media. And we just give each other updates, and I will be like, hey, by the way, going forward, we should do this for this. And great job to so and so for getting number two, like because in YouTube, your videos get ratings. So it's
Mm.
like best out of the last 10. So I'm like, congrats, like you got us a number 2 out of 10. So it's just a great way to communicate, and it's just taken so much pressure off.
Yeah.
Just knowing that I have people here that I trust and that I really enjoy what they add to the edits, things that maybe I didn't even think of.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps you grow when you invest in others, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for those looking to expand their team from a team of one, a shredder of one, what is that first position that you felt was priority for you in order to like grow and hire more people eventually? But I know like when you're just adding that one person, who has been that one person that you added that really changed the game for you?
I mean, I was looking at, so there was a YouTube creator that I really enjoyed watching. I love their editing style. And I was like, gosh, I want to get in contact with their editors. And I just was thinking about this and I kind of manifested it and just put energy in that direction. And I reached out to their editor to see if they were available. And they were like, yeah, actually, I've been looking to get into some educational stuff. And it totally changed the game. They knew what they were doing. They added some like funny jokes in the edits, which I love. Like, I hate it when it's too serious, some outtakes. And also when I talk about one thing that they added was uh, when we do auto ducking with sound, when something ducks, whenever I say auto ducking, he throws a rubber duck at my head with a sound effect. And I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, this is what I wanted it to
Mhm.
feel very like lighthearted and like funny, not too serious. And then recently, another editor, I just proposed to them, like, hey, do you want to start writing for me? Because I realized the writing part was the one thing that did take a lot of time. And if I could find somebody
Mm.
that knows their stuff, that knows how to edit really well, and can come up with ideas, that can take off a heavy load. So that was a huge relief when we started to trial that. But that was only this summer, Nikki, that I
Wow.
started doing that. Because I guess I was like holding on to it. I was like, no, like, only I know the best things that I can put
Yeah.
on here. But it's like, no, like, don't put so much pressure on
Mm-hmm.
yourself to deliver once a week an amazing topic.
Yeah.
There's millions and billions of people out there that have all these ideas. So I think that would be the next thing for me, is to get another writer to help even more. I don't know if I would add any additional people to the channel as of now, but I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of creators also add a collective of educators who come on and they're like, oh, this week it's, I think Olufemi, Josh Olufemi does that. And I think it's brilliant because you can, focus on some creative projects on the side and have a YouTube channel and not have to worry about being on camera each week. So it's definitely a possibility, but I don't know if it's for Premiere Gal yet.
I love it. You're giving me so many ideas. And how many people are in your full team right now?
There are, uh, it's me, Anya, Rickard, Jiva, Stephanie, 5.
5.
Yeah.
Wow. Day in, day out. And because I'm constantly amazed by creators and their workflow and their processes. You say that you work with creators around the world. I do as well, but there's so many different tools. You mentioned Dropbox, but do you also use other um, software to help edit? Like, what has been the best flow when you're editing with people around the world?
Yeah, so Dropbox for desktop is clutch. Basically, you can download it to your computer and you can choose which folders you want to be online only.
Mhm.
So it doesn't take up space on your internal drive. And then you can have some that are active local, but also synced with the cloud. So when I'm done recording, I will take my SD card and my screen recording from my computer and I'll plop it in the media folder for that project. And then I'm like, hey, you can sync that folder on your computer. And then they will add any B-roll, stock video clips, motion graphics to that folder also. So if I ever need to open that up, like if something happens and they're asleep because one of them's on the other side of the world,
Mhm.
I can just, go in and quickly open up that Premiere project and make any changes that I need. So it's really a good workflow too, because if something happens, like another editor gets sick, which can happen, I can be like, oh, can you pick up where they left off? And they can access that folder, which is really, really useful. But we use as a team Premiere Pro, After Effects. We have used Runway, which is a new online video editor that comes with a bunch of AI tools like noise reduction, rotoscoping, and it makes it really easy for, just quick rotoscopes. You can like click on the person and it just auto selects them and you can put like text behind them or other
Gosh.
cool stuff.
Mhm.
And we use another tool called End Boost, which it used to be called Alex Audio Butler. It was one of the first AI tools that actually came out several years ago before it was hot. And it's great. You can just like choose like your tracks, like it's dialogue, sound effects, music, and it will automatically mix it for you. So we use all sorts of different things, Nikki. What else do I use? I use an app called Gifski, which basically I can like take a little video clip and turn it into a quick GIF if I'm doing like something for the blog or I need to put something on the website. So many little cool little tools that we use. Probably I missed several that I like, but those are the top ones I enjoy.
Oh, thank you for sharing your
Yeah.
creative flow. And I just think this is a great transition for me to thank the executive producer of today's episode, which is my friends over at Kingston Technology.
Kingston.
Yeah, I love how beyond supportive they have been to my creative process. But I personally use the XS2000 for the SSD card. So I don't know what kind of gear that you're bringing around when you're transferring, but that's kind of been what I use. And like their V90 cards have been amazing for 4K video. But what about hardware
Amazing.
for you?
So, yeah, I'm a Canon girl
Yeah.
since the beginning. I just always loved Canon. I started out with Canon 5D when I was the Shredditor. And at that time, it was owned by the department that I was working for. So I was like, okay, I need to get my own thing for my YouTube channel, but I didn't
Hmm.
really have a lot of money. So I got a Canon M3, which is one of the first mirrorless cameras they came out with. It was like a little under 500 bucks or something. It had an interchangeable lens. I didn't have a great lens, but it didn't really matter because the story and the content that you're delivering, as long as the audio sounds good and, it's not like a messy background,
Yep.
you're good,
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
golden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just know a little bit about the lighting. You don't need the latest and the greatest
Hmm.
video camera. And actually, I don't shoot in 4K, which is actually interesting. A lot of people are like, oh, why don't you shoot in 4K? And there's two reasons. One, the main one is the storage space because
Yeah.
I'm sharing the media. Although I have like one of those big Dropbox team plans where we pay like, I think almost $80 a month to have
Hmm.
unlimited, however much we want. But
Hmm.
it's like when I upload that and share it and they have to sync it, it just takes
Takes
so much more
forever.
time.
Yeah.
And when we're doing week to week stuff, we need to get it done and shared quicker.
Okay.
And it just looks fine, in my opinion.
Yeah.
1080p.
No, it looks great. Your content looks fabulous. I was just wondering because I'm like, oh gosh, like I work with people all over the world, but it's like I've taken on the editing a lot more because it's so hard to upload 40 gigabyte per camera angle.
Yes, I
Over
can imagine.
to my
So,
international friends. So I'm like, I guess I got to do it. So I know I need to like take some. See, this is why I love getting to talk to other creators because I'm like, what is your workflow? Because it looks amazing what you do. And so like I'm so grateful that you're sharing your process and being
totally.
so transparent with not only the software but the hardware. I want to get into the part where we talk about the other parts of your life. And I usually like to do this thing where I pull up your Instagram because I usually see like the
Ah,
top three things that are pinned. Because to me, that means like that's something that's going on in their life that they're very, very excited or interested about. So I thought I'd go over a couple of your pinned
okay.
posts on
The
Instagram
pins. Let's go,
as of
pins.
today. Um, oh, yes, this is one of them too. So there are 1,300 effects, your After Effects
Yes.
toolkit. That is so wild. So you
Yes.
created your own 1,300s After Effects for people to download, purchase, and use in their projects, making it super easy for them.
Yes, with a team too. So I partnered with a motion graphics design team that helped bring a lot of them to life. And I was mainly the one, making sure it's organized properly and everything's working properly. And of course, I asked my editors to test it too. But essentially, that's the After Effects version. There's also a Premiere Pro version of the toolkit. And we wanted to create something that you can kind of have open as a creator and just say, oh, I want to have a lens flare effect and just double click on it and it automatically applies it to your timeline. And the After Effects version has some more effects, like some cool VFX, like fire burns and other tools that aren't in the Premiere Pro one. But yeah, we did get some requests for an After Effects version and we worked on that. And also, we have requests for a DaVinci Resolve version, which I
Yay!
think would be funny as like Premiere Gal Toolkit for DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're just so great at it. So I'm like, oh, is it only going to be just for Premiere Pro? Because I'm going to come clean. Like, I started on Avid, then FCP 7, FCP 10, and now I am learning DaVinci Resolve just because I am trying to max out this PC that I got custom made from Puget Systems. It is
ooh,
wildly fast, but it's like it's a learning process too. So I'm like, oh, I need to learn some more things. And but there's a lot of things that you talk about on your channel that's still in theory and in practice I can apply wherever we go when it comes to editing.
Totally. That's what I say. I mean, a couple of videos I've done are about like tricks that YouTubers are using to like, I guess, improve their edits. And I don't really get as technical. I just kind of break it down, but it can be done in any software. And that's what I hope to give to people is like, while I use Premiere Pro, I'm not forcing it on you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just located in a different location. But sometimes Premiere does have a particular effect or tool set that cannot be done in
Mhm.
Resolve or vice versa,
Yeah.
So I think all of them keep each other relevant. And I think it's important that there's competition, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can't download your After Effects toolkit and use it in other programs at the moment,
After
or?
Effects Toolkit is just for After
Mm-hmm.
Effects, and the Premiere Pro Toolkit is just for Premiere Pro. But
Gotcha.
we're looking to create a DaVinci Resolve toolkit that has the same effects, but just for DaVinci editors.
Well, I know I speak on behalf of all the other editors too. We would appreciate and welcome and totally
Yeah.
buy everything that you have to offer there. Your other video that you pinned was how to make animated video captions. So that's the ones
Yeah.
that you're using in your
Yes, exactly. So
videos.
that's a really hot topic. I was fortunate enough to make a connection with this guy named Andrew who runs this basically company that develops tools to help processes for editors. So if you want to do something in Premiere Pro and you're like, why does it take so long? Or why can't I do that? You propose this problem to him and he comes up with a solution. And one of them that he partnered with another company on was how to animate your captions word by word. And they developed this tool that can do it. And I was part of like the beta testing and I made a video for their launch and it did really well. They've got like, I think probably at this point, almost 1,500 users now, which is
Wow.
great. Just a little startup. And I just loved how it works. So I thought I would share it out. And a ton of people were asking how I was doing the animated captions. So I made a little reel
It's amazing.
about it.
So one more time, what's the name of that software?
Submachine,
Submachine.
which I
Okay.
love that name. Submachine.
Yeah, and it's really cool because I'm actually getting a lot of like my friends asking me because they know I edit as well. Like, where's a great video like automated captioning? I'm like, I'm sure there's some AI ones, but I actually don't know. So thank you for giving me an actual one to plug. So
Yeah,
submarine.
it's submachine.
Oh, my submachine. I was thinking submarine.
We all live in a yellow submarine.
I was thinking yellow because that's our
I
favorite
know,
color.
I say it too. I say it too sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's a plugin for Premiere Pro and it's
Okay.
more for like pro editors that like want to be able to do it inside of Premiere. But there's other tools like Captions, which is an app. I don't know if it's for Android. I think it's just for iPhone at this time.
Okay.
But if you're not as techy, you don't want to jump into Premiere Pro, you can also do it in some apps, which still cost a fee. Of course, you have to pay monthly for it. The good thing about Submachine is you can subscribe monthly or you can buy the lifetime, which
Oh.
I think is useful because a lot of people can like try it out for a month and then they can decide, okay, maybe I'm going to use this. Let's get the lifetime. And
I'm
not
a
have to
lifer.
Yeah, a lifer. We
Yeah.
all want to have the lifetime option.
Oh my gosh, see, we're learning so much in this interview, and I love this. And then the last thing that's pinned, and obviously I saved it for last, is you recently teamed up with Editor's Key to create your very own
Yeah.
keyboard, which I brought today because I know you were
Yes.
traveling. But I'm like, I don't know if she travels with her keyboard.
Yeah, that would be
but
kind of weird. I'm
but
like,
yeah, so
putting
it's
it
my
through
Editor's
security.
Keys. But actually, yeah, go ahead and open it. I
Yeah,
took
sure.
off the plastic, but go ahead and walk
Okay.
us through it a little bit. But this is so
Yeah.
exciting. You have a product that,
I know.
you know, like, how does that make you feel?
Well, very proud.
Yes.
Very proud.
Yes.
And let's open this up here. So essentially, Editor's Keys and I have had a partnership for a while now. When I first started, they sent me my first microphone here.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
give
grab
this to you.
that so you can play.
So
that one.
Editor's Keys has a bunch of different products. They have like vocal booths, they have microphones, they specialize in keyboards for a bunch of different software, not just Premiere Pro. They have Final Cut, After Effects, etc., Photoshop. And so with this, we really wanted to create a slimmer design that's wireless and that can be hooked up to 3 different devices at once.
Love that.
I know that some editors, they have a PC machine and they have a Mac machine, and you can just switch.
Guilty.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah.
So you can switch between that. You can connect it to your phone or your tablet. And we wanted something that like kind of reflected the Premiere Pro colors, the new ones. And yellow, we were talking about yellow, the Nicki Sun show. Yeah.
Yay!
So
And
there's
Premiere
yellow.
Gal.
It's backlit too. I don't know if this
Oh,
is
I didn't. I turned it off, but I
okay.
charged it. Yeah.
Okay, great. It's backlit. You can't really see it here
Yeah.
because it's like so bright.
That's such a beautiful keyboard.
And yeah, I mean, it's for Premiere. And obviously, if you're a professional editor, it has all of the 100 shortcuts. And a lot of them, like, forgot about or I didn't know. Like, for example, you can press the yellow shift key with any corresponding yellow key. And that will open up, for example, the source panel, the program monitor, if you need to quickly jump between windows. Because, like, having to click and move around does take up time. So it's just a time saver. And of course, over time, you might be like, oh, I know, all of these, but it just looks pretty
It's
and
so
it's nice. It
cool.
has a little Premiere Gal logo here, and it was made with love as a collaboration.
Yeah. How long did this take to work with Editor's Keys on a
A
custom
couple
keyboard?
years.
Yeah.
I know it it just was a lot of different renditions. We had some hiccups with
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing. I think I reached out to you last November and we thought we were going to release it, but then all the keyboards came and they painted the back of the keys black. So the
Oh.
back lighting wasn't working.
Oh
So
no.
that was the biggest hiccup. And like you just
Yeah.
have to learn to be patient with a physical product because I'm used to digital products and
Yeah.
how easy they are because you can make a quick fix and like re-deliver the product. But this is like a full-on
Actual like tangible
physical
physical
thing.
thing. Yeah.
The feedback has been great. There's been a few people that didn't realize that they needed to have Bluetooth on their computer for it
Oh,
to work. And I'm
okay.
like, you don't have Bluetooth on your computer? Like,
Yeah. I'm
but
sure
but
there's a
it
maybe a
happened.
USB-C to
Yeah,
an
so there's
A like a transmitter maybe.
USB-C
Yeah.
and like you can plug this in and have it charged at the same time, but it still needs to be connected via
Mm,
Bluetooth.
gotcha.
So
But
that's
it's
it.
just so cool. I just like it even like goes with everything that you're
I
wearing
know.
right
It's
now.
like
That's your
I should carry it
baby.
around with me in the
Yeah.
airport security. Excuse me, this is my baby.
Yeah, it's like let me just turn on your Bluetooth and then you can try this one. But no,
Yeah,
it's just a
so
beautiful. Thank you for sending me. It was like I learned so much about products with other creators who are dealing with it because yeah, you did
yeah.
want to send in November, but I actually moved between that time, so that keyboard went to my old
I
address.
know. I was
But
like,
I
oh
was
my
like,
God.
keep it there. I can drive back and grab it.
Oh,
So
that
luckily,
was
I didn't move to a different country. Otherwise, I'll be like, oh no, I
oh
cannot get that
no.
back.
It's
But
all good.
that's
It's
just
here
an
with
amazing.
you.
We talk about your channel, right?
Hmm.
And it's all about editing. Is there moments where you're like, oh, I wish I could talk about cooking or pets, or like, is there ever that moment like, oh, but I can't, or do you find a way to incorporate that?
Kind of, yeah. Like I, obviously have a lot of different aspects to my life. I do enjoy
Mm-hmm.
cooking breakfast and making smoothies and, playing tennis or playing video games. Like there's many different aspects, but for a niche channel,
Yeah.
I try to think just like, okay, it would be odd if I just randomly posted a video on my channel about cooking with Premiere
Yeah.
Gal.
Yeah.
But I try to bring in some comedy into my edits. Like one time I dressed up like as a French chef and like did my, video with like a terrible French accent and just had fun. Like I was showing how you could do like an overhead shot like with avocado toast.
Yeah.
And this was a while ago, but just trying to mix up my different interests and apply them because that's your unique vision. But there's times where I'm like, oh, maybe I should do another channel on this particular topic. But that's what I tell people all the time. Like some of my friends who are yoga teachers and do like fitness related stuff. I'm like, oh, you can create like a niche YouTube channel and just talk about that stuff. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, you can do it. And we have this whole fun conversation about like their channel name. And I just love talking with people to help them like figure out what that could be for them because it's amazing. Like you could create a whole channel on cactuses or
Yep.
cacti is the plural,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, there'll be people around the world that love their cacti and they want to find the best ways to care for them or decorate them and like the different types. It's just, I think it's so cool that we have the power of YouTube and you can make a living if you approach it in the right way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, if you were to create another niche, hypothetically speaking,
Uh,
channel, what would it be on?
gosh. I mean, probably I would do one on kind of the forest life because recently my partner and I bought a piece of land and we're starting the process of building a home on it.
Wow, from
And
scratch, from the
from
ground
from
up.
ground up, and it's like kind of this forest piece of land, and we built this fence around it all by ourselves, like with the whole drill and putting the pole in. And I share that. I actually have my own personal Instagram that's private, and I share that with just like my close friends.
Hmm.
But it would be kind of cool to share that with a wider audience as
Yeah.
well, because we had two like some neighbors walk by and they're like, "Oh, these two women are building this beautiful fence. Like, we're telling all the neighbors, like, these two women are doing it. It's amazing. We're rooting for you." And I just thought, oh man, like, if two neighbors think that, like, what if you share that with other people who are maybe afraid or they're not sure how to approach it?
Yeah.
And we did it, you know? So it could be a potential thing. I know it's a lot of work creating another channel, so
Yeah.
you have to think about that, but it could potentially
Yeah,
happen.
we could just make sure we start immediately hiring writers and editors, and you just like, I'm here, and here's that, go for it,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. That's how I would approach it now is like like should we start with an editor right away or should we build it up a little bit ourselves and come up with our style? I would probably recommend that first before you move on to
Yeah.
getting editors, but yeah, there's a whole another life out there of me building this fence in addition to doing the editing tutorials, and it could be a new channel. We'll see.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kelsey, I usually like to end with you sharing what's been on your mind or what's been on your heart that you wish society talked more about.
Um, oh my gosh, we are getting deep here on this morning in Los
This helps with
Angeles.
this conversations, you know, because
I
I carry
think
it on from the other interviews
I
that I've had.
think one thing that's been on my mind a lot because this last 3.5 weeks I've been visiting old friends from high school and family, and I think, a lot of times people forget about connecting with their old self and their old friends and family and how important that is the relationships and the people around you. And a lot of times people are like, "Oh, this is my career, this is what I'm doing," and all of that. I'm like, I wouldn't be able to do this without all the wonderful people around me who support me and love me. And I think it's so important to take time and organize your work so you can spend time with the people that are the most important to you in your life. And it's just been so amazing to visit with old friends. Like I feel like it sparked my old soul of like joy and childhood and just reconnecting with your roots. And I don't know, I just feel like we don't talk about it that often. And it's so nice to keep in touch with those people that were so informative in the beginning years of your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I love that. And I thank you so much for wanting to reconnect with me in person.
Yes.
I've been like, I'm like, of course we could do this interview remotely, but in person to me, it's just always better. I just love seeing you face to
It's
face
so
and
great.
giving you a hug. And,
Of
but thank you so much for flying
course.
all the way from Warsaw, Poland to be on the Nikki Sun show. I really, really appreciate it. But I'm so excited for you to continue your tour of getting to reconnect with all your friends in the
Totally.
States now that you
Yeah.
moved to Europe.
Yeah.
And I am so excited for everybody to now get a piece of your babies and your work. Well, not only for your keyboard, but for your toolkits
Yeah.
and free education online on YouTube. So
Yep.
make sure to check Kelsey out. Is there anything else that you like to tell the audience about what you've been working on or
Well, I
any
always
last thoughts?
I always end my video with, stay creative and keep creating better video with Gal. See you next time. Bye. And I cover the lens. That's what I do.
Oh my gosh.
And I never like planned that. It just kind of happened once where I covered the lens and then eventually I kept doing it at the end.
Oh, well, uncovering the lens really quick because I forgot to ask you, like, what are you working on next? Is there something exciting that you're.
So, yeah. Um, Basically, before leading up to my vacation time, I prepped all the videos for September. And so this month, I haven't made any new content. And it's been really great because I can focus on just being present in the moment and like
Mhm.
getting to that when I return.
Yeah.
But next week, I have a video coming out that's already been prepared on the new Roto Brush tool in After Effects. It just is a new and improved revamp rotoscoping tool in After Effects. And I compare it to other tools that are on the market, like CapCut, which is developed by TikTok, and Runway to kind of compare them. And I think I'm going to make this really cool video about creating my own video clone. So if
Ooh.
I'm sick or I'm not feeling good, could I make a video clone of myself to step in for me? And what are the ethics of that?
Oh my
And
gosh.
I want to create a video on that. I think that'll be so cool. So that's one video that I think will be a focus for the fall. But of course, I'll be doing updates on a new Adobe software that's coming for Adobe Max in October. And yeah, I don't know, Nikki. I'm week to week here. Like, I'm week to week here. I don't know. But I'm going to try to do my best to do more videos up front so I have more time to like think, like I was saying before, in the shower. Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Rather than bombarding yourself with like day-to-day tasks, you need to create that space for you to breathe and be creative.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for continuing to inspire me. I know you inspire so many on the internet, and I just love that you always come from an education background where
Yeah.
you give us a safe space to want to learn and feel liberated knowing that we can learn more tools to just be better creators ourselves. So I just want to
Totally.
thank you.
Totally. And I'm learning too every day. Like we're all lifelong learners. So, and congrats to your show. I love being here in the studio. It's so exciting.
Yeah,
And I look forward to the episode.
thank you. Well, you've been watching the Nikki Sun Show with Premier Gal and Nikki Sun. I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.